Senator Johnston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Two folks I'd like to recognize this morning. One is, I think Chief Eric Tate is here somewhere from the Denver Fire Department. Honored to have you all here. For those who don't know, Chief Tate is taking the leadership in developing FirstNet Colorado, which is a wireless broadband data service that will allow first responders across the state to have access immediately to critical information they need through this wireless service. And so the Denver Department is really taking the leadership in building this statewide network. We are honored to have you here, and thank you so much for your work. I also want to recognize Deputy Chief Quinones, who is here, an amazing public servant who spent almost 30 years now in the Denver Police Force. And as I looked at you this morning, sir, I thought there was someone else that I should probably talk about who both you and I knew together, and that is Selena Hollis. And so I had the honor a couple of years ago to get to know her. She was an officer in District 2 up in my part of town in Northeast Denver, and you may remember the story. It was a 32-year-old African-American woman who has been on the police department for 11 years and was at a Jazz in the Park festival, one that probably so many of us love to go to. And was there when a fight broke out between two men, and being a police officer, first thing she does is, of course, jumps in the middle of it. And in trying to defuse that, one of the men pulled out a gun and shot Officer Hollis in the head, and she did not make it. And that night, when I got the news, I first got home that night, I wrote this short note, which I thought I would read in honor of Officer Hollis. It's called Working Sundays. I had to work Sunday. I hate working weekends. Sundays are supposed to be family time. Church and museums and brunches and the pool and monster games in the basement. But that is part of being a public servant. Sometimes you work Sundays. So around 4 p.m., I got in my car and drove to Lafayette to talk to some people about education. The event ran late, so I was late to meet my boys and my wife for our special Sunday dinner and our movie trip to see the new Disney movie Brave, a story about a young woman unafraid to stare down evil, to make her own way in the world and protect her own family. There was a big mean bear in the movie, although at the end, even though the mom was turned into the bear, she turns back to the mom to let kids know that not all bears are evil. But my son got scared at one point and crawled into my lap and snuggled his face into my chest. After that, I came home and I put my boys in bed. When I tucked Emmett in, I lay down next to him in his tiny little bed, and he put both of his arms around my neck in the dark and laid his head upon my chest and said, "Daddy, I want you to stay here forever." I wanted to, too. I almost cried, but instead I held him until he fell asleep and then walked out to see my wife. When I walked out, she was crying too, but about something else. About 4 o'clock that day, another public servant left her family and drove to work, the same work she had done every Sunday for 7 years. She probably said goodbye to her daughter and said she'd be home to kiss her goodnight. While my little Emmett was hiding from the scary bear in the movie, this public servant was running into a real-life den of bears to make sure everybody else was safe. And while she was looking out for my friends and neighbors trying to enjoy some jazz in the park, they shot her in the head. While I would lay in the bed cradling my son's head, she lay on a gurney in Denver General with a team of doctors cradling her head. And I thought of her daughter and the nights that she's afraid, and the nights that she wants her mommy to stay with her forever. And I thought of her little girl being asleep right now, and the moment when she wakes up tomorrow, waiting for mom to walk into her bedroom. And when her sleepy eyes creep open and she asks if today is a school day or if she can have some milk or if mommy's making breakfast, someone else will have to be there to hold her little head and tell her that mommy isn't making breakfast. Not now or ever again. That she can't make it to her next soccer game or band practice. The next time she skins her knee or wakes up with a nightmare, mommy will never, ever be there. She won't be there to console her through her first broken heart, or to help her put on her first prom dress, not to help her pick a college or get ready for her wedding. She won't be there to do a load of laundry over Christmas break or to be the first teacher when she holds her own little baby in her hands and wonders how to keep this little thing safe from a big and dangerous world. I am proud to call myself a public servant. But on days like today, that feels like saying that both Shakespeare and I are writers. Some give their time, and some give their lives. I will be waiting in my boys' room tomorrow morning when they wake up, waiting to tell them that it is a school day, that I brought them some milk, and that mommy is making breakfast, and that I will be at their next soccer game, and that in real life, we don't have to be afraid of big bad bears, because some public servants are willing to give their lives to make sure that I can stay here forever on the nights when my kids need me the most. I want to say a thank you and to honor the memory of Salita Hollis and to honor the work of all the folks that are here in uniform today. We are so grateful.